The House impeachment managers have repeatedly referenced President Richard Nixon's impeachment process. Just this afternoon, Jerry Nadler talked about Nixon's smoking gun tapes.
Then the smoking tape came out. Within a week, almost everyone who supported the president a week before changed his position, and the president was forced to resign because of what was revealed on the smoking gun tape. Within a week, Senator Goldwater and others from the Senate went to the president and said, "You won't have a single vote in the Senate. You must resign or you will be removed from office," because of the evidence on the smoking gun tape. But what was on the smoking gun tape? The smoking gun tape were recordings of President Nixon instructing White House officials to pressure the CIA and the FBI to end the Watergate investigation. No law explicitly prohibited that conversation. It was not in that sense a crime. But President Nixon had abused his power. He had tried to use two government agencies, the FBI and the CIA, for his personal benefit.
MSNBC contributor Jill Wine-Banks worked as an assistant Watergate special prosecutor. She joins me now. And Jill, what do you make of the idea that the president can be impeached even if he doesn't break any laws?
It's clearly the case. That's what the Constitution says. You do not need an underlying crime. When the Constitution was adopted, there was no statute, no federal criminal code, and yet there was an impeachment that said high crimes and misdemeanors. Abuse of power has always been the standard for what impeachment is. It was one of the charges against Richard Nixon. And I want to also stress that that smoking gun tape was achieved through a trial subpoena. It was after the indictment by impeachment. And so similarly here, you can't argue that you shouldn't be able to have additional evidence that wasn't presented to the House before they voted to impeach, which is the indictment. It is possible that the trial gets more evidence because more things come out or because you have more time to gather them. So we should have witnesses, we should have documents that are new, that have never been presented to the House, and you don't need a crime, although in this case there are crimes. I would say that Trump has violated the Impoundment Act. He has violated the election laws by soliciting something of value from a foreign entity, which is totally prohibited. And he certainly knows it was prohibited because that's what was made clear in the Russia investigation.
Jill, you cross-examined President Nixon's secretary. We might not get any witnesses at all in these hearings. We've talked so much about fair trial, but do you think that will diminish the senator's understanding of the actual facts of this case?
I do. There is a very strong and compelling case that the House managers laid out today. They did an excellent job of pointing out why this matters, why it violates the Constitution, why it's an impeachable offense, why it endangers us. But having the live witnesses does make a difference. You cannot substitute anything for it. I think that logically, everyone who's listening now will understand that if you don't have all the evidence, you can never exonerate someone because you didn't know everything. So if you only present part of the case and you decide that you're going to vote not to convict, it's not a valid decision because you didn't have all the facts. So if the president wants to actually be exonerated, then he must allow everybody to come in. And on that subject, let's just talk a little about executive privilege. Executive privilege is a valid thing to claim, but it does not cover fraud and crime. And so I don't care whether you're discussing national security, whether you're discussing foreign policy, if what you're doing as part of that is committing a crime, if you're planning a corrupt scheme, that is not covered. That is exactly what the decision of the Supreme Court was in the case against Nixon. They said he had to turn over the evidence against himself, the tapes, because the executive privilege did not apply when the conversation involved committing a crime. So let's keep that in mind. There is no legitimate claim, and the claim being made so far has not even been executive privilege. It's been, I have total immunity, I can do anything I want. That is not true. When Richard Nixon said to David Frost after he was out of office, after he had resigned, he said, if the president does it, it's not illegal. That's the same thing that Trump is saying now, and it's not true any more now than it was when Nixon said it.
Jo Wine-Banks, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.